Hey folks, good morning and welcome to another episode of Steelers Morning Rush. I'm Alan Saunders. It is Thursday, October 9th. The Pittsburgh Steelers will have their third practice of the week, second full session over at UPMC Rooney Sports Complex today. Me, Brandon Howe, Ed Thompson joining the Steelers on the field for practice today. And we'll have lots more from practice and another afternoon drive here around 6 p.m. This morning, I want to talk about the Steelers wide receiver core. Talked to Calvin Austin yesterday, and he is doing well, but I don't expect him to play this week against the Cleveland Browns. What are the Steelers going to do in terms of receivers this week without Calvin Austin in there? I now feel like I have a bit of an idea as to the game plan. I do think you're going to see Roman Wilson, especially when the Steelers are using a slot receiver. When they're in a three-receiver set, I think it'll be Roman Wilson almost 100% of the time. I do think you'll see Scotty Miller work in that outside spot in those three receiver sets. So basically kind of moving Wilson into Austin's role and Miller into the role that Wilson had been taking. Feels about like what they're going to do at wide receiver. And that's basically what Mike Tomlin said without that much detail on Tuesday. Nothing really news breaking there. But there's something else they need to do here in that Jonnu Smith needs to become the Steelers' number 2 receiver right now. I understand what they're doing with Darnell Washington and how much he's playing and Spencer Anderson and they're deep need to run the ball, and I get that. And if they want to run a bunch of plays where there's only one wide receiver on the field, I don't hate them for it. But if DK Metcalf is the number 1 receiver, if you have another player who is being asked to be a receiver who's on the field, it's got to be Jonnu Smith right now. On the season, Jonnu Smith has caught 14 of 16 targets for 71 yards. That's 14 catches for 71 yards, 5 yards of reception. That's half his career average. He has also been, according to NFL Next Gen Stats, the most open receiver in the league. He has 4.5 average yards of separation and is getting thrown the ball less than a yard from the line of scrimmage on average, which means that all of his yards are yak, which is fine. But if he has 4.5 yards of separation, this is a Steelers team that is just not going to separate well. DK Metcalf, very good receiver, not an elite separator under any circumstances. 2.8 average yards for separation for him. Calvin Austin, very fast, can skew these numbers if he really cooks somebody deep. I don't think we've seen that yet, but 2.6 average yards of separation. Like, that's not great. It's not awful. It's not great. Awful, the very bottom of the T. Higgins 1.7. That's the very bottom of the chart here. But if you have they are struggling to get guys open. They have a guy who's getting open. He's catching almost everything they throw to him. They need to make an adjustment there. I'm not saying it needs to be dramatic, that he needs 15 catches or something like that. But when you look at what the Steelers offense has done so far, what they haven't done, and the opportunity areas for them, I feel like Jonnu Smith has been underutilized so far, especially when it comes to look at who the matchups are that he will be playing, that he has been playing against. It's not like there's a Fred Warner out there. It's not like there's been a Jesse Bates, right? There hasn't been some sort of elite middle of the field defender that you're trying to stay away from, and that's caused, Aaron Rodgers to not look at Jonnu Smith. The Cleveland Browns this week are going to line up Devin Bush against him a good bit. I'm not afraid of Grant Delpit. I'm not afraid of Ronnie Hickman. Carson Schlesinger, second round pick out of UCLA, very good tackler. Not afraid of him in coverage. I don't even know who the other linebacker is. Jerome Baker, I think. I don't think any of those guys can cover Jonnu Smith. If you want to talk about 4.5 yards against separation against what they did before, he should have better this week. They've got to find a way to get him more involved in the offense. He is one of their top playmakers. There's no question. And it's perfectly fine. And I'm saying this, and I'm not sure it's going to happen. I think the Steelers are going to come out, Spencer Anderson, Darnell Washington, try to keep Myles Garrett from being able to rush the passer, by running the ball a ton, and the throws are going to be lightning quick, which is okay. Even if they're still going to be all within 1 yard line of scrimmage, if he's got 4.5 yards of separation, even if he's just getting 5 yards of catch, which is absurd, that's still fine. Keep feeding him. I think it can be an important part of the offense. And I think it's something they've really underutilized so far. I know a lot of people are up in arms about Pat Freiermuth's usage. And I think Freiermuth, you can almost say the same things I said about Jonnu Smith, about Freiermuth. Not quite as good of a separator, better blocker, however you want to parse that. You can include him in this too. But to me, when you look at that separation number, that is the thing that really the Steelers, there are two things the Steelers lack when it comes to their wide receiver room. They lack deep threat outside receivers, and they lack separators. And they have one guy who was separating, and they're not really using him. If Freiermuth had a 4.5, I'd be saying the same thing about him. He apparently doesn't have enough routes to qualify for the board or whatever. But I think there's a real opportunity there, especially against this Browns defense. The Bengals defense, they do have Logan Wilson, who is a better cover linebacker. But we've seen how the Steelers tight ends have lit them up for years. So I would expect that to be part of the game plan against the Bengals, no matter what. Okay, that's it for this morning. More on the afternoon drive. I think Smitty, he's still fighting this cold. I don't know if he's going to be able to go today. He told me he lost his voice, which would make for a very entertaining podcast. I kind of want to bring him on just to have him Shador Sanders style pantomime reaction to everything I say while not being able to speak. But I don't know if we can keep that going for half an hour. So maybe we'll have to come up with a plan B. We'll figure it out. Till then, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.